So again, I am delighted to welcome you this morning, this evening for the information session. Debarshi and I will be going through general information about Brandeis International Business School, as well as more specific information about our programs, the tuition for this partnership, et cetera. I think the best thing will be is during the session, if you have any questions, it may be best to go ahead and chat those into the chat box. We will certainly try to address questions as we go, but we will have time at the end as well for questions. So we'll be reviewing those that were put in the chat, as well as giving students an opportunity to unmute themselves and ask questions at the end. I'm going to be sharing my screen and Debarshi will be kicking us off. Debarshi, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as I get the screen going?
Sure. Thank you, Kelley, and welcome everyone. Good evening to you all. So my name is Debarshi Nandy. I am the finance faculty member here, and I'm the director of the Masters in Finance program. And what I would be basically talking to you about, I'm also the director of the India initiative, which is through which we have developed this partnership with SPJIMR and this particular program, where we collaborate with SPJIMR and students coming into this program spend time at the global management program of SPJIMR first, and then join us in one of our 4 master's programs afterwards, which we will talk about in detail. So welcome, and well, let's get started. So let me first tell you a little bit about what our programs are like. So we are, most of the programs that we have, all the programs actually that we have are STEM programs, with maybe one exception in a marketing track in the MBA. But other than that, they are technical, analytical in nature. They are, all of them kind of emphasize the data-driven aspects of decision-making and strategy as we go into this heavily digitized world going forward. So our programs kind of prepare students for careers in economic policy, consulting, investment banking, marketing, real estate, and many other areas of broadly in the financial, economics, and business realm. We have state-of-the-art, labs, etc., as part of our business school building. Our programs are affiliated to some of the leading professional degrees that you can get, such as the CFA. We are partner programs of the CFA, which is the Chartered Financial Analyst, FRM, which is the professional degree of GARP, which stands for Global Association of Risk Professionals, and CAIA, C-A-I-A, which is Alternative Investment Association, Chartered Analyst for Alternative Investments. And that is more focused on hedge funds, private equity, venture capital, real estate, those kind of areas. These programs are all STEM designated, and the primary differentiation is that in a STEM designated field, you are eligible to work in the United States for 36 months after your F1 student visa, as opposed to the usual 12 months of optional practical training after you complete the program. Our faculty is global. We have faculty from some of the leading universities worldwide, and you would be training with not only people who come from the top universities, but also from the top businesses. So many of our faculty have experience in leading investment banks, leading consulting firms, are leaders in their respective consulting firms as well. So that provides you with a very rounded, I would say, education as well as network, connecting you to all of our networks here. Another very critical aspect of our programs is that a core element of all these programs is integrated with experiential learning, and primarily experiential learning happens in many different ways in the classroom and otherwise. Obviously, the most common one is internships that you're well aware of, where you work with a company during the summer. Mostly summer internships are really great opportunities for students to kind of get into the job market. And successful completion of summer internships very often lead to follow-on job offers from these companies. The other unique aspect of this is what we call field projects. Field projects, the way to think about it is think about yourself as working at a leading consulting group like McKinsey. And effectively, the work that you would be doing where you were working at McKinsey is pretty much what you would experience in a field project. So you would be working with a partner firm that would define the project in a team together with a faculty advisor to solve a problem that the industry partner brings to the table. So it provides a really nice exposure on the type of problems that companies are dealing with, and how you can solve these real world problems based on your skill set that you develop as you go through the program. And one of the other aspects I want to mention is we have been at the cutting edge of innovating our curriculum over and over again. And what I mean by that is we bring in very niche, unique aspects of the industry and practice that you won't find anywhere else. I'll give you two examples of it. The first one is a field called transfer pricing. So transfer pricing is a global field that is at the intersection of law, corporate finance, accounting, and data-driven analytics. And what we have here is we are the only business school that you will find that actually has a solid corporate transfer pricing program. So our graduates from that kind of track end up working with PwC, Deloitte, EY, Accenture, all the leading global players in that field. And as you can imagine, the world is getting more and more integrated. It's already completely integrated as of now, and more and more companies across the life cycle, from small to big, all have global supply chains, all have global markets, and so transfer pricing plays a big role in that. We've placed people in Amazon, in any big company that you can think of that has a transfer pricing role. Our students are there. The other example I would give you is fintech. And what do we mean by fintech? Now, many schools will tell you that they do fintech. We do it at a totally different level. We were one of the first programs that actually came up with a fintech program, that had a fintech program, a solid fintech program. We are also one of the leading programs that has collaborated with industry and with government to build a fintech hub in the state of Massachusetts. You can go and visit the website of Mass Fintech Hub, and it would provide you with details of what we are doing there as one of the founding members of that space. So I would hand it over to Kelley now to tell you a lot about the details of our program, and then I look forward to answering any questions and any other comments that you may have.
Great.
Thanks, Kelley.
Yeah, thanks, Debarshi. I wanted to take over by talking just a little bit about our location and the advantages of being close to a major hub like Boston before I get into the programs. As many of you are aware, we are located just outside of the city of Boston in Massachusetts. Waltham is a thriving city. It was ranked one of the best places to live in the country, actually, in terms of the lifestyle, the diversity, sort of the engaging opportunities that are a part of it. And then as part of that, you have access to this wonderful city of Boston. We are on a commuter rail line, so you have this benefit of being on a green, very traditional campus with the business school facilities, and then having a 20-minute train ride to be in downtown Boston. So it is this great balance of perhaps more reasonable living costs and having that little bit of, again, traditional New England experience, as well as being so close to Boston. Boston obviously comes with a number of advantages, including a number of major hubs to multinational companies, innovation, technology firms, healthcare, biotech, startups. It is an extremely thriving city in terms of new companies moving in, growth, real estate development. So there is a lot going on. And as many of you may be aware, we are a leading city for healthcare. We have obviously a number of great experiences in the area with some of our neighboring institutions. We have cross-registration opportunities. So what that means is if a student were to come to Brandeis and find that there is a particular type of class that perhaps we don't offer, but a neighboring school such as Bentley or Babson or others in the area offer, you could actually take that class and then transfer that credit back to us. So it's incredible, both networking opportunities as well as academic expansion within your program. The first program that we offer, we have 4 master's programs that are affiliated with SPJIMR. The first is our Master of Arts in International Economics and Finance. What is traditionally a 2-year program is reduced to just a 1.5 years as part of our partnership with SPJIMR. This is a great program for students who might be thinking about gaining real breadth in areas like economics, finance. Perhaps they're interested in going into policy or research or financial institutions. The combination of finance and economics is extremely unique in the US. Typically, programs are more focused just on finance or on economics, but having this venture kind of really gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of your future career paths. Students just are coming in as obviously the SPJIMR program prepares you. Economic statistics are really the fundamentals we're needing for this program. And as Debarshi described, the program involves one of those practical experiences, the internship, field project. For some students who may be thinking about perhaps further study down the line, a PhD or something like that, the opportunity to engage in research with a faculty member may also be a part of the program. Once you're in the MA program, you have the option to choose what's called a concentration. So essentially that is a group of elective classes that you want to focus more on. So everything from economic analysis and consulting, analytics, more finance, marketing, real estate. Again, this is definitely a program similar to the MBA that has a lot of breadth in terms of the opportunities. So I am seeing just some chats coming in, so we'll take care of some of those and we'll get to those certainly as well. Our MBA, so we have a traditional MBA program that is also allowed to be accelerated as part of our partnership. So what would be a traditional 2-year program is allowable in a 1.5 years as part of the partnership. The MBA is obviously a great program if you're thinking about some management roles, if you want, again, the breadth of everything from more quantitative areas, as well as perhaps areas like operations, marketing, supply chain, strategy. That is kind of giving you a very solid core in a lot of different areas, and then allowing you to dig deeper into 1 or 2 areas of concentration. So analytics, finance, marketing, real estate, strategy, and innovation. This program is STEM designated as long as a student selects either analytics or finance as their area of concentration. Because the MBA allows up to 2 concentrations, it's very easy for students to complete one or both of those, or complete one of the STEM designated and one of the other non-STEM designated, and still, again, receive that STEM designation because of that specific concentration. Analytics is the most popular area within the MBA, as you may imagine. I know many of you may be considering analytics as part of that. But again, the ability to combine analytics potentially with another area can be very appealing for students. Our Master of Science in Business Analytics is one of the two more specialized programs we offer. This is a slightly shorter program. It's a condensed program where students can actually complete it in as little as a year, or most students complete it over a year and a half. One of the benefits of having the year and a half is that summer in between your second year to do an internship like Debarshi talked about, or to have field project experience. It does require that as part of the program. And so a lot of students find the benefit of staying a little bit longer. This is also particularly helpful for international students who want to work in the US after graduation. 16 months allows, again, for that internship time, which is a great way to get the experience, especially if you're thinking about staying in the US. This is going to be, require basic statistics. This is going to, though, dig much deeper into the analytics. Some of your advanced courses can be in areas like AI, machine learning. So you're going to kind of get this great balance between very solid technical skills in these programming languages, as well as the business side of things, which is the ability to take that data and understand the best way to present it. What we're really focused on is not just teaching students the skills, but making sure they understand that the communication of that data, the ability to present on it, is just as key in the marketplace. Our last program, which again, Professor Nandy is head of, is our Master of Science in Finance. Again, one of the two more specialized areas. As the MSBA is more focused on analytics, the MSF is more specialized in the area of finance. So this is a great program for students who perhaps see themselves in financial roles, the financial industry, want to dig deeper into some of the areas that Debarshi talked about, including asset management, corporate finance and valuation, fintech, risk management. We're looking for students to have a fundamental finance as well as a fundamental quantitative course, something like a statistics or a calculus or something like that to move through the program. Similarly, it's a tight program. It's 16 months. So you do have the elective ability to choose a concentration, but it is very focused on finance. So this is a program, again, that's great if that is your sort of career goal in terms of the industry or the specialty role. We have a number of dual degree programs. I'll just touch upon these. What these allow students to do is take two of the master's degrees and combine them in a shorter time frame. So essentially, by completing two of the degrees together, you're saving both the time and the money of doing them independently back to back. So we have a combination of the MA, the Economics and Finance degree, and the MBA, the MSBA and the MA, the MSBA and the MBA, and the MSF and the MBA. Now, what's really nice about these dual degree programs is you don't have to know when you come into the program that you want to do a dual degree. Most of our students tend to actually start in a singular degree, like the MA, for example, and then decide once they're here that maybe they want to dig deeper into the MBA or do the MSBA. So there is flexibility to add the dual degree for your second year once you're here. So, general recommendation is if you're unsure about a dual degree, start in your, primary focus degree. And then when you're here, talk to your program advisor, talk to your career coach, get a better understanding of the advantages, of being in a dual degree, maybe some of the cons in terms of length of time, cost, things like that, and decide once you're here. So there is that flexibility. I referenced the career coach. So what's really unique, I think, about our program is the a tremendous level of support and community that we have within our program. Faculty directors such as Debarshi and others are extremely involved in their programs, working with the students, office hours available, working with them on opportunities for field projects or research, teaching assistant. So faculty are very engaged. And then you also have tremendous administrative support with your career coach and your program advisor. So each program provides you with a coach and an advisor specifically for that program. So for example, in the MSF program, you'd be working with a coach and an advisor who know specifically about the finance curriculum as well as the industry, who have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience working with students depending on their particular professional track as to kind of what is the best coursework, what are the best experiential opportunities that students should take advantage of in order to position themselves best for those career goals. Our Career Strategies and Engagement Center starts working with students even in the summer before you start your classes on campus. They'll start working with you on everything from resume preparation to getting your LinkedIn profile set up so that when you come in, you're hitting the ground running. For these programs that are only a year and a half in length, I think particularly again for students who might want to work in the US after graduation, your job search is starting immediately. So you are really working quite actively with your coach and your advisor from day one to really maximize your experience in the program and make sure that you're taking advantage of all of the types of opportunities offered at the business school to really get the best out of your experience and to get you to where you want to be professionally. Debarshi obviously talked about a couple of specific companies where students in transfer pricing or other areas end up. These types of companies are actively engaging with our students. We have obviously US-based companies based abroad, such as Alibaba and others. We are working with top companies in a wide range of areas. Finance, technology are very strong areas where our students end up. We also have, again, a lot of niche relationships with areas in real estate, marketing, that type of thing. I'll talk a bit just about the application process and tuition, and then we'll be able to, again, talk through some of the questions that we have. The application itself is available online. If you were to go to our website on the apply page, there is actually a sort of a chart where you can kind of pick the program you're applying through, the partner program, SPJIMR, and then it directs you directly into the SPJIMR application. There's no fee when you're applying through the partnership program. You're going to upload your any of your bachelor's transcripts. We need the mark sheets. So we don't just need the consolidated test scores. We do need your individual mark sheets by semester with the courses and the grades. You would go ahead and submit a copy of your degree certificate as part of the application. If you're in the process of finishing, again, we don't require it at that time, just any transcripts that you have to date. We don't require the GMAT GRE as part of our process. We encourage the GMAT GRE for students who may have less quantitative work or, maybe have not done as much in quantitative areas. I think a GMAT or GRE score can provide some additional information to the admissions committee to give us a sense of your potential, again, particularly in the quantitative areas. But again, it's not required. So if you choose not to submit it, it's certainly not going to be a penalty in the process. 2 letters of recommendation, a resume, an essay, and then we'll interview you as part of the program. In terms of your experience, typically students coming into our MBA and any of the dual degrees that are associated with the MBA do typically have some full-time work experience. It's not required. We're preferred to have some experience. We will consider students with significant internship experience. But if you're earlier in your career, you may find that one of our specialized masters is of interest, or potentially starting in one of our master's programs and then adding the MBA as a dual degree once you're here and have gained some additional experience either through an internship or a field project. Students must submit their application. It doesn't have to be complete, but they must submit their application. Once they submit their application, they are sent an invitation to interview with a member of our team. The interviews are typically about 20 minutes in length, so they are not extensive. We're just looking to get a better sense of who you are, what your interests are, a little bit more about your background, and certainly give you the opportunity to ask any individual questions. We have a unique tuition model for our partnership school of SPJIMR. So whereas some of these programs are typically costing anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 US to complete, as part of the partnership, students are receiving a flat tuition rate of $38,500 US dollars for the completion of the full 3 semesters of the program. So this is a heavily discounted tuition for SPJIMR. If you were to come to the program or apply to a dual degree or add a dual degree once you're here, that cost is, there is an additional cost for that. It is not the full dual degree cost, but it is a sort of a proportionate cost of the dual degree. To give you a rough sense, the dual degrees are anywhere from about 75 to 90,000, depending on the credits required. Again, a substantial savings from the 150 to 170,000 you would typically pay. Because of this heavily discounted tuition, we are not providing additional scholarships. So what that means is if you are admitted to one of our programs, you are guaranteed the $38,500 tuition rate, but we do not have additional funding available as part of it for in the way of scholarships. We do have a number of opportunities for loans. We are working with a platform called Fundright, which is a platform that is tremendously helpful, particularly for students from India. It is a company where students can actually apply on the platform and provide some basic information, and banks will compete to provide you with educational loans. Typically, the loans offered through the Fundright platform are higher than what you would traditionally see if you were to one-off go to a private bank. So that could be something, certainly reach out to us if you want more information about that, but that is something to consider as you're working through the financial cost of the program. I'll go ahead and stop the slides just so we can see each other and have a chance to engage further. I saw a couple of chats coming in. Debarshi, were we able to address those through the chat?
I actually didn't see any chat on my end.
Oh, okay. Let me take a look.
But let me just add one more thing
Sure.
to what Kelley said. You know, most international students are actually, I mean, all international students are allowed to work for 20 hours a week on campus. And there are many jobs available on campus that you could apply for and take advantage of. So that does provide you some supplemental, you know, income for your living costs and etc. as you are here. Typically, you know, these jobs, I think, pay around $15 or $16 an hour or something like that. So if you're working for, you know, 10 hours a week, that would be roughly $150 a week. So keep that in mind. Most international students take advantage of that opportunity, and they, you know, there are many jobs across campus that they do.
We actually, thank you. I actually did see a number of chats come in. I guess people were sending them directly to me. So there are a number of questions that I want to take a moment to address, and then we can certainly open it up for other questions. The first question we received was more information about field projects and industry treks. Debarshi, I don't know if you want to talk about field projects a little bit more, perhaps some of the companies or what students can expect in terms of that experience.
Sure. So the field, you know, as I mentioned, the field project, the way to think about a field project is essentially it's a consulting project for a company. So, you know, we work with companies both large and small. So I'll give you, for example, Fidelity, you know, which if you know, it's one of the largest mutual fund companies globally. So we have done field projects with them where essentially they have a problem that they want to get solved in their asset management space, and a team of students with a faculty advisor would work with them to solve the problem. All the time, actually, not some of the time, but all the time, these projects are under confidentiality agreements. So unfortunately, I can't divulge any details to you, or not that I know about it also, because unless I'm a faculty advisor on a particular project, I wouldn't know all the details. So that's an example of a large company. HSBC, we have worked with them in the past. And then there is, you know, as Kelley mentioned early on in her presentation, that Boston is a hub for a lot of startups, you know, in healthcare, in biotech, in fintech, and we have partnerships with some of the largest incubators in Boston, actually Mass Challenge, which is the largest global incubator. And so we work with a lot of startups as well on this field project program. Many times, what the field project program does is, if you think about it from the company's perspective, it also gives the company the ability to see the quality of our students even before they have a job opening or they're thinking about hiring somebody. So many times these students kind of get selected almost internally in the process and absorbed into the company, either initially maybe as a long-term internship and then as a full-time employee going forward. So that's the field project. The Trek part of it essentially is to help build your networks in different hubs across the US, San Francisco, New York. And Kelley, what are the other ones we're doing this year?
Yeah, so typically in the past we're doing New York. We have done everything from Chicago, LA, San Francisco, New York, Washington, DC. So there are a number of different opportunities. They vary slightly each year. New York is obviously a huge hub for us, as is the West Coast. We've visited Seattle. So students are visiting top companies in these regions. As part of each industry track, we also host an alumni event. So you have the opportunity to interact and engage with the alumni in that area, both at the companies you're visiting as well as through the reception. So it's a great way, I think, to get a general feel for industries in that area, the city itself, sort of whether or not it's a culture that you would be interested in, and then certainly to hear directly from some of our alumni about their paths to these specific companies. So great, we have a number of other questions coming in. Cost of living was a question that came in. So we have estimated costs for all additional expenses on our website. So if you were to go into our tuition section, there is a link for additional expenses, and you can kind of see what a typical breakdown for your program would be over the course of either a year or 3 semesters. Costs of housing vary based on sort of where you're looking in the area. Again, I mentioned Waltham is a little outside of Boston, which has its advantages in this area. Cost of living in Waltham is less, significantly less than Boston. So it's very convenient, again, for students to live right within the Waltham area. And then, certainly travel if they need to Boston for internships or anything like that. But having the ability to live right around campus is extremely convenient for students coming to classes, working on projects with students. We have shuttles buses and buses that go around campus to provide access for students to campus. So it's a very sort of convenient way. We do not provide on-campus housing for graduate students. So students that are seeking housing will be looking for off-campus housing. For students who enroll with us, they receive a lot of information and resources, everything from listservs to find roommates to opportunities to help with connecting you with real estate agents. We have an Office of Graduate Student Affairs that works specifically with graduate students on their off-campus housing search. We also have blogs of students giving you tips about it. So there is a lot of resources for finding housing. There is a lot of housing available, so students do not typically have issues finding housing. Other questions that have been coming in about concentrations. Some of the programs, all but MSBA, offers what I talked about in terms of being able to dig deeper in a series of electives for concentrations. And the great thing about concentrations is you do not have to know exactly what you want to do before you come in. So you actually don't even have to declare a concentration until you're here. So you could start taking classes as early as even your first semester in some of the programs to start figuring out maybe which areas of interest. A lot of the program directors offer sessions on the different concentrations to give you an overview of, the types of opportunities and classes that are available. So you have plenty of time during your program to kind of try these out and decide which concentration is going to be the best fit for you. Another question that had come in was the difference between sort of MBA course level work and undergraduate coursework. Certainly Debarshi could take this just to give you a quick start. I think as I mentioned, the majority of students coming into the MBA program specifically have had previous work experience. So I think one of the key factors that we're looking for in an MBA classroom is the ability for students to draw on their own professional experiences, to bring those experiences to the conversation in the classroom. So I would say that is kind of maybe a differentiator in some of the MBA level courses, but Debarshi, if you want to kind of talk further about the structure of the classes or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. So I think the difference is actually quite big. Obviously, the teaching pedagogy is also different. So in the graduate school, you're expected to kind of bring it's sort of a flipped classroom setup where essentially you're supposed to analyze a case, and it's case study based. Much of our curriculum is case study based. So you're supposed to kind of absorb the material beforehand and come in ready for a class discussion. And the case study kind of facilitates the discussion. That's sort of the big picture pedagogy. In terms of analytical stuff, again, if you're going through let's say a course on programming, or a course on forecasting, or a course on financial modeling, you would be working on hands-on projects. So the courses are structured around projects, not just lecture-based material. So you would be building a financial model for a publicly traded company, and then you would present it at the end of the day. So all of these things kind of are geared in a manner to develop your applied skills and your sharpen your communication skills.
Great. Some other questions that have come in. Somebody asked specifically about the fintech concentration and not having had previous programming skills. Debarshi, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah. So what we advise students joining the MSF program is, because this is a very common thing. Many students are unsure about whether or not they would love to go into fintech, but they're unsure whether or not it's a good fit. So pretty much in their first semester, we advise all of them to take the Python programming course, because that's kind of the it's a skill set that you need. You cannot do without it. So we have huge enrollments, but then very soon, those who are not comfortable with the whole idea of how programming works, and whether or not, and if they're not comfortable with it, then they decide that it's not for them. So that's the way we follow it. So you have to, we would ask you to take the first programming course in Python, and then you figure it out for yourself.
Great. Other questions, somebody had asked a little bit more about the jobs. What I would encourage everyone to do is on our website, if you were to go to the careers tab at the top, there is a career outcomes page, and you can then click on a program of interest, and it'll take you directly into that program's career outcomes. It'll talk through not only statistics, such as how many students have gotten job opportunities, but where have they gotten job opportunities, in what industries, functions, a list of companies, job titles. So it gives a lot of information for students, and it's specific to that program. So I would encourage anybody who wants to dig deeper into the career outcomes is to take a look at those pages, as well as the alumni profiles of students from those from those areas that have gotten the alumni who are in those fields and those majors who have gotten them. Other questions? Oh, go ahead, Debarshi, please.
Yeah, just quickly wanted to add to that is, we have a ton of information on our website. If you, spend 30 minutes on our website, you will find out pretty much the answer to not only the answer to your question, a lot more information than you would even dream of finding. So not only would you find out about what kind of job placements we have had in the past, what percentage of students get that, but exactly what kind of salaries they get as well. So spend some time on the webpage, and I think that you will find that it's a treasure trove of information.
Yep. there was a question about outside scholarships, so opportunities beyond sort of our tuition rate. I am putting a link into our chat box. These are some outside scholarships. These are typically scholarship sites that students can use to search other scholarships. The scholarships, unfortunately, on our website are ones that, again, would be eligible for students who are applying not as through a partnership program. Again, because the partnership is already so heavily discounted, any other scholarships you're looking for are going to be external to Brandeis. Another question came in about exams. So just to reiterate, as part of the process, we do not require any standardized testing. So students do not have to take an English proficiency exam as part of this process, and they also do not need to submit a GMAT GRE. I know SPJIMR typically will require an exam. So if you're submitting a great score for them and you think that score will help in your application, certainly include it. But if you don't believe that, score is reflective potentially of your abilities, we at Brandeis do not require that score. So even though you may be required to send something to SPJIMR, we would encourage a test score only if you feel that it really strongly would support your application. Another question that came in is regarding time frame for admissions decisions. So as I mentioned, you'll get invited for an interview once you submit your application. Students will select an interview time that works for them. We also require, in addition to an interview, that all of the application materials are received before we release an admissions decision. So that does include your letters of recommendation. We require 2. So if you are submitting your application and have done your interview, but perhaps we're waiting on your letters of recommendation, we would not be able to provide a decision until every aspect of your application is in and complete. Once everything's in, we can actually get a decision out to you, usually within a week. We communicate decisions.
Could I just come in?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so to start the Brandeis application and get interviewed, you first need to complete the SPJIMR application and get interviewed by us. Only once you've been selected will Brandeis interview you, provided all your documentation is in place. Yeah, so we've started. The admission interviews are going on rolling basis. The decisions can be shared with you as soon as they are shared with us from the partners. So please, in case you're interested and you need to serve 90 days of notice period, please complete your application at the earliest. And Kelley, please, could you tell them about the letter of recommendation? I think a lot of them have trouble there and a lot of them mail them to you directly. Sure. So just please explain that as well.
Absolutely. So the letter of recommendation is not an extensive process. What happens is during the application itself, you would be putting in the contact information. So the email addresses for your 2 recommenders. An email is then sent to those recommenders immediately, and it tells them that they've been asked to write a letter of recommendation for you for our school. There is a series of questions that a recommender could choose to respond to in lieu of a letter. Some will forego the questions and just submit a letter as part of that process, but your recommender will be uploading that letter directly into the system. So once you send the emails, there's nothing further you need to do other than making sure that your recommenders maybe get reminders if they need to or anything, but the system allows you to send reminders. You would be able to look to see if your recommenders have submitted. You can always reach out to our office if you have any questions, but the recommendation, again, there's prompts. So again, if your recommender would prefer to just respond to the questions in there, they can just write directly into the form. Some recommenders, again, prefer to just upload a letter that they have, and that's totally fine as well.
Kelley, another question related to the same. So say somebody has 2 years of experience and somebody's a fresher. So who should the recommender be?
Yeah. So we do provide guidance in the application. Typically for MBA applicants, we are looking for professional letters of recommendation. So those that have been a previous supervisor, a current supervisor, a coworker, a client, a colleague, somebody who knows you in a professional setting. Perhaps if you don't have extensive experience, you could provide one professional letter and one academic letter. But again, typically for the MBA, we are looking at the experience, so the professional letters. For students who are coming in without potentially full-time work experience, we are still looking for one letter, professional letter, as well as one academic letter. The professional letter in this case is typically an internship supervisor, somebody who has supervised you on a volunteer project. Maybe you have a faculty with whom you've worked as a research assistant or something like that. So there's a lot of options within that context, but I think the goal of us is to get kind of a snapshot into who you are academically and who you are sort of within a context outside of that, like an organization, an internship, a job, something like that.
Thank you, Kelley.
Of course. Let me take a look. Yes. So there's some information there about the program exactly. So, as Dipali mentioned, this is like a two-step process. I mean, students are working directly with the SPJIMR GMP office, and then we are in constant communication with their team about students who are going through their process and then are submitting their applications through us. So we're working sort of in tandem. I mean, once you're receiving sort of the recommendation from the GMP program, we're sending our decisions to their office and then they are communicating with you. But again, the faster you can sort of move through the process with GMP and then get your materials moving through us, the faster you can get a decision. Okay, I think we're caught up on the chat in terms of questions. We have, a few minutes left in the session. If there are any remaining questions that students would either prefer to chat or, reply to by unmuting themselves. As I mentioned, if you are interested in coming, I definitely encourage you to get going on your application. The interview is a great part of the process to also get your individual questions answered, things like that. But certainly prior to your interview, if you have other questions, you can always reach directly out to me. Dipali and I are in constant communication. So if you'd prefer, you can send emails to the GMP office and they can also forward those to us for a reply. Anything final before we conclude our session? Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, these have been great questions. I think we're very excited about your interest in Brandeis. We are, SPJIMR has been a wonderful partner of ours, and we have been, just delighted with this experience. I think students find that the balance between the experience in India at a top school like SPJIMR combined with this international experience at Brandeis has really led to a very fulfilling and well-rounded education. Debarshi, any last thoughts?
No, I was just going to say thank you for joining us, and I hope you all the best, and look forward to perhaps seeing some of you down the line.
Great.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your time and for giving us all this information.
Of course. We'll be in touch with you afterwards.
Thanks.
And then, if you have anything else, just feel free to follow up. Wonderful to meet all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.